Hi, I'm Ali Burns and I'm about to help you decide which of these two products to buy for pumping up your air mats and such things. So you've probably seen in quite a lot of today's camping gear videos, there's a product called the Flextailgear Tiny Pump X and the Flextailgear Max Pump 2020 EPS, whereas EPS stands for Emergency Power Supply. So I ended up buying both these products and then realising that one was right for me. But the one that's right for me is not necessarily going to be the one that's right for you. So I'm just going to talk through the reasons why I chose the one I chose and explain which one I think is maybe right. So I initially bought the big one because it didn't sound too heavy. 150 grams sounds quite light. And the reason I'm using this pump is for bike packing and sort of micro adventures, like away for a night and camp. And this thing is absolutely amazing. So I've used it once. I'm going to send it back, so it's basically as new condition. It was just a little bit too big for what I need. So we will get them out in the hand and we'll weigh them on the scale. But as you can see, it's a small device, but for my use, it's a little too big. But what I think you should, if you want to buy this one, I would buy this one if weight is not as much an issue and size isn't an issue. Say you're car camping or you're pumping up something like one of the bigger boats, then the weight of this is quite insignificant in terms of you carrying a huge big boat. So I would recommend this one if weight and size don't really matter. You're maybe in a larger group, you're wanting to pump up quite a lot of items on the one charge. And also the emergency power supply is a useful thing to have. I've got a light and a speaker that both have an emergency power supply built into them, and there's a couple of times I've actually come in quite handy. So if you're not trying to get the smallest thing possible, and the size, I mean it's still small, isn't such an issue, because this thing, yeah, 150 grams is nothing really, then I would recommend getting this one, especially if you're a larger group and you're carrying a load of gear anyway. This is not going to be much extra at all. But however, this one here, it's absolutely tiny. I think they said on the back it's like the size of an egg or something. This one's maybe like, I'm not quite sure what kind of fruit or vegetable, but this thing really is tiny. And I noticed when I got the second one delivered, picking up the box, how much lighter this thing was. So this thing is not going to be blowing up your big boats or whatever. This is more literally for pretty much your camping mat. This is aimed at campers pumping up air mats. So what I will do, we'll get these both out and put them on the scale and have you can see them in my hands. But I will also pump up, I've got a Trekology UL80 mat. And that's quite a popular mat just now because at the moment it's about £40 UK pounds on Amazon, probably some amount of dollars. It's quite a popular mat because it's quite thick and pretty good value for money. You can, if you're a side sleeper like me, I always wake up on my back, but I tend to try and fall asleep on my side. Then I will pump this using this one, and I previously recorded myself pumping it up with this one, so you can see the time difference. But like everything, like boiling water and whatever, there's no rush. This thing is slower. The flow rate of this is 180 litres a minute, and the flow rate of this one is 300 litres a minute. So this one's like more than a third faster, so we'll see that in the times. But again, this was super fast, less than a minute I think. We'll check with the stopwatch. This took a little bit longer, but you're setting up camp, you're plumping this thing in, pumping it up. You're doing other stuff as well while you're pumping up the thing. You're probably sorting through your gear. I do not think the time it takes to pump up is going to be a factor in your deciding. Now the other killer feature this thing has got, it has a built-in light that can actually do a few different brightnesses as well. It says some on the packet, I think. I can't quite remember, but it's basically, here we go, 40 lumens, 160 lumens and 400 lumens. So the 40 lumens will last you for 10 hours, the 160 lumens will last you for 2.5 hours, and the 400 lumens will last you for 1 hour. So it is quite good to have a spare light. And someone in another video said they basically, when they were going away for a little wander at night time, they put it on the lowest light setting and hung it in their tent, and it meant they could see their tent coming back, because it can be pretty hard to find your tent in the dark, as you all probably well know. So this is the one I'm keeping because I'm basically backpacking, bike packing. I need it to be as small as possible. It's still going to do, it says in the back here, it'll do 10 air beds. Obviously the bigger the air bed, it's going to take a bit less time, less number of air beds for charge. But if you're out camping, you're taking an emergency power supply with you anyway. Even though this thing here is an emergency power supply, you probably have an emergency power supply to charge up this thing. So it's not going to be a major problem. And also, before I had this, I had a pump sack. I'm still going to always take my pump sack because I use the pump sack to store my water, my warm jacket in to keep it dry. So this thing might run out, you know, you're on a longer trip, you might not get a chance to charge it up. You should always have a backup pump sack, and the pump sack weighs nothing because it's a bag I need anyway. So without further ado, we'll get these things open and just have a look at them on the scales and compare them side by side so you can see in my hands, well, you don't know how big my hands are, they're that big, the difference between the two. So here we have the pumps out of the box, so we can compare the size of the two together. So they both come with a load of little attachments to fit different sizes of things, but the key difference here obviously is the size of the unit. So we'll get this thing out. Both come with little carry bags and USB cables. I've now got like about 1 million of these. Oh, sorry, I should mention it's USB Type-C charging, which is excellent. So it's good to see products are now starting to use the more modern standard. So here we go, this is the big difference then. You can see quite clearly now the difference in size. Like this one is pretty much, you know, not quite half as small, you know, the height's not quite the same, but noticeably smaller. This thing here, I can probably stuff this in my mat as well when I roll it all away, and it's just going to be living in there in the mat, as long as I remember to take it out and charge it. This thing here is noticeably bigger and heavier. So we hold this button down so we can see the light. So that's one of the settings. Press again, pretty bright. And again, that's actually pretty bright there actually. So, like I mentioned, having it on the dullest light, still pretty bright. Hang this up in the middle of your tent and that will give your tent a nice glow. So if you're going out, you know, even just out for a few minutes and you just want to easily find your tent, you can use the light feature. So that is a pretty good feature. And then tap, 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 and then off. Now to activate the pump, you double tap this one. And there you go. It's quite a powerful little pump. And then this one here, it's got a switch on it, quite a hard switch so you don't accidentally set it off in your bag. Even more powerful. These things are incredible for their size. Unbelievable actually, this technology is here. And it's not even that fancy, it's literally just a spinning blade thing in there. But obviously this thing's got a bigger fan because it's got more room for the thing there. There's obviously got batteries we've got to fit in here. So this thing's going to pump up faster than this. But there you can see the size of the two, like so. They're both still quite light. I mean, I hummed and hawed whether or not to just bother keeping this one or get this one, but I think this made more sense overall. Having the light inside the thing was a more useful thing to me than having an emergency power supply inside this thing. Because I do, like I said, I've got an emergency power supply in my light and in my speaker, and also I carry a battery bag anyway. So they're like, I have a power supply, an emergency backup power supply, and an emergency backup power supply. So a third one, emergency power supply, oops, is maybe a power supply too much. So let's just stick it on the scale to see what it compares to versus what it says in the box. So it said 150 in the box, 157. So a little bit cheeky there. So 157, and then this one, no, it is that one. Sorry, yep, 150. Then the smaller one, 89 grams they claim. 87, there you go, well done. So whoever weighed this thing and put it right in the box was smarter than this person here. So another thing I forgot to mention earlier is these both actually deflate as well. So if you've got a airbed that it's actually quite hard to like blow all the air out of, you can use the thing, rather than attach the thing in here, you attach it in here and you actually suck the air out. Or more importantly, something like vacuum storage, so you can actually suck the vacuum bags to crush things down. So some people go camping, actually might put some of your clothes in the vacuum storage and suck the air out of it to bring that down. So in conclusion, we'll do the little pumping demo after. These are both excellent products. Pick this one if the weight and size is not an issue, because it pumps up faster, it pumps up more things. Choose this one if weight is an issue, you're doing a bit of like ultralight camping, you're carrying your gear a bit further, and you value the light more as a bonus feature than this emergency power supply. you can't go wrong with either one. If you ended up being given one or the other, just keep it. They're both fine. They're both excellent products. The other thing to mention is that the maximum pressure is different. So on the larger one, the maximum pressure is 2.2 kPas, which is 0.32 psi. And on this one, the maximum pressure is actually higher. It's 3.5 kPa. I'm not quite sure what that is in PSI, but in terms of PSI, it's like, you know, less than 1 PSI. These are not high pressure things. You're not going to pump up a bike tire with them. And the thing is, your airbed, you're not wanting it like high pressure. So that is a difference. This thing will pump up to a bit more pressure, probably just because it's a smaller hole than this one, but I don't think that's really going to come into play. And like, this thing is brilliant for things like blowing up boats, but I think the target audience for me, well, the reason I bought it was for airbeds. So that's why I'm going for this one. So let us do the demo of blowing up the airbed. And I might even sleep on it tonight just to get practice, because I keep waking up on it, despite it being quite a comfy airbed. So let's do that now. So I've got a pump sack that was quite a useful purchase to save you using your air from your lungs, but as you know, it's still a bit of a faff. So first of all, get the mat rolled out so it doesn't have to work too hard. It comes with about 6 different sizes of adapter, but this one here seems to fit quite snug, and away we go. So I'll time it on the video. Let's see, I charged it up earlier as well, so should be good to go. And already we can start seeing, so obviously it's not the quietest thing, so if you're stealth camping, you're not going to want this, depending how near you are to civilization. But when you're out in the woods like we are today, no one's really going to hear this. And that is pretty fast. You can see it's really taking shape now. It's so much quicker than the pump sack. And that's it now. You can hear it sort of working hard. Oh my god, what a purchase. Instantly have absolutely zero regrets for this thing. And there we go, that is it. So that was not very long at all. We'll compare the two of them together, but like I said, this thing takes a bit longer than the larger one, but that was nothing. You know, literally you're in your tent, you're pumping this thing up, probably at the same time you're sorting your bags out. Before you know it, your bed is there. You've not been bear hugging your pump sack. And the problem that I find with the pump sack is that if the ground outside is too dirty and I can't pump the airbed outside the tent, I'm in this tiny little tent. There's no room at the bottom for the pump sack. I have to kind of like be in the doorway, kneeling in the doorway, twisting the bed around, pumping down, like struggling to get air in the thing. And it's an absolute nightmare. So these things are absolutely brilliant. It's a case of these did need invented. No, it's not an invention that was like invented without an actual use case. These things are absolutely brilliant. If you do not have one of these and you have an airbed, just don't even think twice. Just buy one right now. And if you're into lightweight backpacking, I would definitely get the tiny one here. But if you're car camping and you've got a family and you've got loads of airbeds to pump up, grab the bigger one. So I'm Ali Burns, and that is it for my quick, well, not that quick review of the Flextailgear Tiny Pump and Mini Pump, whatever the hell it's called. So there you go. Enjoy. I hope that's been helpful for you. I sort of found it useful. There you go, that's how easy it falls out. But as you saw, it didn't fall out while I was pumping the thing up. It was very useful for me to buy the second one to really compare the two, and now I'm super happy with this purchase. If I'd not bought the second one and tested it, I would have always been wondering whether I should have got this one. So I'm glad I got this one, and I think the light is an extra bonus feature that actually is handy. It's not just a feature thrown in for the sake of it. It's been well thought through, and it's got the little handle as well that will basically hang in your tent. Most tents have got a little thing to hang in it, or like a little see-through thing that will slide in. So I'm Ali Burns, bye for now. One more quick thing, if you're struggling to choose which colour, the reason I chose this in orange was I think it's sometimes quite useful to have it quite visible in your bag. You're looking around for things and you can't see things. Orange was quite standout, so if you're eyeing the bigger one, I would pick the orange one just so you can find it in your bag. It's not like you're stealth camping and this is going to stick out anywhere. It's always going to be inside your backpack. So, no colour, orange. Bye.